Welcome inside episode 476 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains, and I am still fuming after a 3-1 loss to the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah, that was a tough one, Ross, and it's a good thing we don't talk about refs on this show. Otherwise, it would be a long episode, but usually the boys like it when the refs put away their whistle. But it would have been nice for the refs to have their whistle out for this one because that broken play needed to end, and Josh Brown would have loved it to end earlier.
We'll get into not only the bad, but there was plenty of good. A season-high 44 shots on goal. And I want to ask you, are the Senators screwing JBD? All that and more. This is the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.
Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Today is Wednesday, January 19th, and Pilsy, rumor is you want to start the show with a retraction of something you said on the postcast last night.
Yeah, I mean, last night we were talking about that play, and I said, you know what, I don't really blame Josh Brown. He's the only man back. It's a weird play, but that was before I saw the angle of what happened. And luckily in The Athletic, Ian Mendez had some quotes from Josh Brown who 100% took on the blame. He said, I can't be doing that. I can't let him strip that puck away from me and get a breakaway, et cetera, because all he had to do was not do that. Just chip it off the boards, even ice it if you have to, just to finally get that whistle for that play. But Josh Brown with a questionable play there. And for a guy that's fighting to have his minutes secured on a bottom pair, that's not a good look.
Well, he was by far the fewest minutes on ice time on the back end, playing under 10 minutes. And Thomas Chabot felt the brunt of that extra work, playing almost 31. But let's take you through the play. If you missed last night's postcast, let's say you missed the game, you had to work, whatever it was, in the third period, about halfway through, Kyle Okposo coming up the boards, near the benches. Brandstrom, who had a phenomenal game, I may add. He closed out Okposo, a man much bigger than him, but put his shoulder right into him, separated the body from puck, and it got chipped into the zone. You're like, okay, a melee starts, and next thing you know, the puck's being brought up. Nobody's paying attention. There's 4 Senators, 4 Sabres in the scrum. And then all of a sudden, TSN cuts to the wide angle again, and there's a breakaway from Mark Jankowski. Makes a nice move, don't get me wrong. Finishes on the backhand, tucks it past Forsberg's pad, and we'll get to the reason why Forsberg was in net in general. But when you're without fans, that's even more exacerbated because everybody's watching on TV, and you're only watching the scrum, and then the game-winning goal scored 2 minutes later. So, yeah, Josh Brown, I give him credit for coming out and speaking to the media. He probably didn't have to do that, but at the same time, he shouldn't be in that position. In general, he said after the game, one of the things he said, I thought about jumping into the melee. If he did, they would have blown the play down. Yeah. 100%.
And that's what Josh Brown is brought in to do. It's to be the guy to take on the brunt of those physical altercations and not have other
Brandstrom.
Guys. Yeah. And hey, again, shout out to Brandy. That's a good hit right in front of DJ Smith.
Yep.
And that's what DJ Smith wants to see from him. So great play by Brandy. We'll get into him later here. But the problem here, Ross, isn't the fact that there's so many players in one area. It seems like a broken play. Normally that would get blown down, et cetera, et cetera. But the real problem here is the linesman is literally physically holding back Ottawa Senators players. Like the second the referee or linesman gets in and is grabbing onto players and is really like restricting them from moving and continuing the play, you got to blow the play down. And I don't understand how the other referees and linesmen none of them instinctively just blows a quick whistle, because that's hockey's a weird game. It's the only game where like you can have guys like scrumming and fighting and like, that's okay. We'll just stop everything and let them settle it. But that's the way it typically goes. Like when the camera hadn't panned away. Yeah, exactly. Look at this. If you're watching on YouTube, sorry for just yelling everyone listening in their cars. But if you're watching on YouTube, Ross pulled up the picture and the ref literally has a hand on Victor Olofsson and then a hand on, it looks like Tyler Ennis there, or no, Ennis is on the bench, but he's got one of the guys for the Sens. So he's holding on to multiple players. So
it is Ennis. And my favorite part, if you are watching on YouTube, you can see all the Senators players are nearest to the bench. So once the Sabres, I know didn't matter in the long run because it was just Jankowski that went. But when the Sabres realized the play was still going, all three Sabres left the scrum.
Yep.
And the Senators were still stuck behind the linesman and their own player who got flattened on an interference play because he finished his hit. And then it was the retaliation hit, the second retaliatory play from the Sabres in that game. The first one was called on the instigator penalty after Brady Tkachuk threw an enormous hit in the first period. But that if you don't blow it down for interference, sure. But then once the linesman literally puts his hands on a player and impedes them from leaving the scrum, it has to be blown dead. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah, exactly. It's that clear. So yeah, that's the thing. And look, I don't blame the Sabres here at all. Honestly, hats off to Mark Jankowski.
Oh,
Didn't hear the whistle. Only guy back is Josh Brown. And you're going up against a cold goalie. Hell yeah, take that puck, get a breakaway, make a nice deke and score the game winner. Hats off to you. But it's an unfair advantage for the Sabres there. And you mentioned it. Yeah, the Sabres are able to be like, oh, crap, the play's still going. Let's all hop into the play. Where the Senators, they don't have that option. They're stuck between their bench, the boards, and the linesman. So
and the player who was just interfered with.
Exactly. And yeah, like, sure, Pysyk does interfere with Brannstrom, and yeah, you could call a penalty there, but I would have been totally fine with no call there and just a whistle.
Fair.
That would have been okay. Maybe not the perfect exact rule, but call. But at a point like that, all these players are in, things are happening quick, and you just blow the play down. But that didn't happen, and that ends up being the story of the game, which is unfortunate because, and we'll get to them, but there's a lot of other storylines to this game, and this was a very winnable game for the Ottawa Senators.
One they let slip away, Pilsy, and I do want to finish off with the other negative note before we get to more positivity, which there was lots of. Every single Ottawa Senator had a shot on goal, and I don't know when the last time that happened. They were led by Thomas Chabot with 6 and Tim Stützle with 5 shots on Michael Hauser. The team had 44, but was only able to put 1 past them, and it was on the power play. But that same power play was 1 for 5 on the evening, and I want to focus in on the final power play because, yes, unfortunate that Jankowski scored the way he did, but you're not going to win many games when you score 1 goal. And
there was a lot of time left when that goal happened.
Yeah, 10 minutes. There's exactly 10 minutes left in the game. They get the power play with 4 minutes left. At that point, what happens? Like they didn't even really put in many good chances on that power play.
Yeah, and DJ Smith talked about it, and I mentioned it in the post game. The issue with this power play, and it's not normally the issue. Like the Sens were doing a very good job of getting into the zone, and normally that's the issue with the Sens is they can't quite figure out the breakout. The drop pass is so obvious. They don't have guys that are confident enough to just weave through or what have you. They just struggle to get into the zone on the power play. However, last night, they were getting into the zone with ease, but as soon as they got into the zone, the Buffalo penalty killers were applying such good pressure and turning the puck over and clearing it instantly. Ross, there was one power play, I forget which one it was, but I noted that the Senators entered the zone and had the puck cleared 5 times in one minor power play. That's an entire 2 minutes of skating down the ice, getting into the zone, cleared. Skating down the ice, getting in the zone, cleared. 5 times. That's 2 minutes right there. And that's what happened. And I know you said you would have liked to see the goalie be pulled on that last
power
that's what I'm trying to say. Sorry, guys. But DJ Smith talked about it, and I agree with him, is they just couldn't get any offensive zone time. Like if they would have been able to hold possession and cycle the puck for a little bit, he was going to pull Forsberg and it was going to be a 6-on-4. However, they weren't able to do that. And the thing is, if you're not able to get good possession, then that's an easy chance for the Sabres to shoot for that empty net every time because there's no consequence of it being an icing coming back the other way and they can't get a change. So I understand the frustration there, but I think in the end, DJ Smith did make the right move because they just didn't have it and it wasn't going to work that time.
But do you think a conversation at the bench might have helped? He had his timeout. He waited until after the power play to use it. Many thought after the first unit was done, there's clearly I don't know if there's a team in the NHL who has more discrepancy in talent on their first versus their second unit, especially with Connor Brown out of the lineup. That second unit is a ragtag group of bottom 6 players. No offense. Why not call the timeout after the first unit's done their first minute and get them right back out there at the end of the game? Is he trying to save his timeout for the last 2 minutes? That was another questionable decision for me.
Yeah, and that's fair. Yeah, because that second power play unit, like at the start of the year, they were actually really hot, but ever since, they just haven't been able to get things going. So yeah, I definitely agree with you there. That's maybe a situation where DJ Smith's looking and is like, I might have waited that one out a little bit too long, and I did not use my timeout at the most advantageous time.
Yeah, when Chris Tierney and Nick Paul, no offense, like Nick Paul does it all, but Zach Sanford, like these are not guys that you want out there with 2 minutes left in a 1-goal game when you're pressing for a goal. Maybe if you're up a goal, yeah, hell yeah, throw Nick Paul out there. But the other guys, and last negative note, because you mentioned it yesterday, how bad at faceoffs and how young the Sabres were down the middle. How did the Sabres end up winning the faceoff battle last night and giving themselves extra possession? Ottawa clearly dominated this game. The shots tell you that. The first period, they were all over them, 15 shots to 9. And second period, 19 almost had a shot per minute. Yeah. And imagine how much more that could have been if they had won 60% of their draws instead of 48. Like, at some point, you got to look down the middle right here. And a guy who we had circled in the faceoffs was Tim Stützle, who I guess did better than his season average, but was still at 43%. Dylan Gambrell, 43%. It's just frustrating because, this is the first time the Senators had been favored to win a game, and they were big-time favorites, minus 215 at betonline.ag, and they just couldn't get that one pass. And I guess it starts off, you allow the first goal, and then you're kind of chasing the game from there.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we can get into this on the other side of the ad break here, but there definitely was a lot of things that, just didn't go the Sens' way that night. And it's unfortunately, it starts with Matt Murray.
It starts at 4:00 when the Senators found out he was not going to be able to go for a game that was 3 hours later. Why not get a Built Bar into you, Murr? Maybe that'll help. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. And when you're feeling down, this is how you get a nice big boost of energy. It's Built Bar. You go to BuiltBar.com right now, and you can see all the great flavors available for you. All you have to do as well, if you want to try many different kinds of Built Bars, then you can go and get their mix box on their website and use promo code LOCKED15, and you'll just get 15% off your order. So that's the perfect way to decide which Built Bars are your favorite. Built Bars are low in calorie, low in sugar, but they're high in protein and high in fiber. So you can lose or maintain weight, but you're also indulging in a delicious treat. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. So go to BuiltBar.com right now and use our promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off your next order. That's 15% off at BuiltBar.com with promo code LOCKED15. All right, Pilsy. So Anton Forsberg, he was my Sens Central standout last night. You can go check out all of our Sens Central standouts in last night's postcast.
Including Williams Martian.
Exactly. Martian joins us. Hey, this is the first loss he joined us after. Usually that guy's a front runner, only comes in after the wins. No, all jokes aside, great conversation in the postcast where we're coming off. We're heated. It's right after the game, and we do post those in our audio feed. So wherever you download your podcast, let's say you had to miss the third period, whatever the case may be, you can listen to that on your way to work. You can listen to Locked On Senators on your way home from work, Monday through Friday, free and available everywhere you get your podcast. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. It does go a long way for us as well. But Pilsy, I mentioned Anton Forsberg, my Sens Central standout. He played well. I didn't like the first goal. He was caught sleeping a little bit on that Dylan Cousins pass shot, whatever you want to call it, ends up in the back of the net. And then we talked about the Jankowski goal, no chance. And then the third goal was an empty netter as well. So he still only allows 2 goals on 31 shots. I thought he played solid, but he shouldn't have had to play at all because the starting goalie, who had 2 straight wins, should be an absolute automatic. And Matt Murray was at practice Monday. He was at practice yesterday, I believe. And then we hear, there was no morning skate. Yeah. But he was at practice on Monday, and the game's on Tuesday. DJ Smith said he found out at 4:00, 3 hours before the game. How is that even possible?
I don't know. I mean, just straight up, I have no answers here. I don't understand what the situation is. We were told it was a non-COVID related illness. Now, Matt Murray seems to have a lot of these little kind of kinks and things that aren't quite working for him, and he needs to take time off. But yeah, again, like I said, I don't know. So what we're saying is just speculating here. I like, what could have happened that between that practice and like, why wait all the way till 4 p.m.? Like, if you have an inkling, like, I don't have it today, like I've got some sort of sickness, and again, don't know what sickness it is. Maybe let him know a little sooner. Like, you should be able to know by around like noon or something if you're feeling it or not, or what's going on, because that's just completely unfair for Anton Forsberg. This guy hasn't played a game since December 18th. He's coming cold.
That's the Philly game, right?
Yeah, he's coming in cold and has to mentally and physically prepare to get a start in only a matter of hours. And then Philip Gustafsson has to make his way to the game. He barely gets there in time.
He missed warm up.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I'm not blaming Matt Murray here. Like, you have to know yourself and you have to know your body, and you have to be like, okay, I'm just not feeling it. I need to make the decision that I can't do it. But leaving it till 4 p.m. just seems very odd. Like, you don't see that very often. And yeah, this has happened before too, Ross. Like, this is how Joey Decord got his first NHL win. He got told while skating around in warm-ups, Matt Murray went up to him.
I'm just not feeling it today.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, I actually give him kudos for that, because it takes guts to be able to be like, I'm kind of not really putting everyone in the best situation here, but I know myself and I know that I'm not ready. But like, you can only do that so much, and it just seems unfair for guys to have to go through with that. And yeah, I think if Forsberg knows he's the starter, he might have a better game here and he's a little sharper. Not that Forsberg was in any stretch of the imagination at fault for losing this game, but it just gives you a better, you're set up for success, right? And I think with that first goal, you kind of see the rust. Like, that's a goal where it's a weird play because Dylan Cousins is looking to make a cross-ice pass, and it hits off, I think, Holden's skate. And then immediately he just decides, all right, I'll just fling this at the net. And Forsberg is already reacting to shifting over to that cross-ice pass. And before he can even really register that pass isn't going over, Cousins has slid it across and he's not quite set. So that's maybe something where your timing is off because you haven't played in over a month. And that's fair. Like, that's definitely fair. If you talk to goalies who take time off, what they'll tell you is it's not about the conditioning. It's not about all that kind of stuff. It's your reaction time. Because in the NHL, if your reaction time is off by half a second, you're done. The way these guys can shoot the puck, the way these guys react, it's the best level of hockey in the world. It's so fast. If your reaction time isn't what you're used to, you can't play up to your top performance.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a really hard question. What's next for Matt Murray?
In what sense? Like, are we talking micro or macro here?
Micro. I want to know what's like. He should be in goal in Pittsburgh tomorrow. It should be a revenge game for him. And then they have a back-to-back on the 22nd at Washington, 23rd at Columbus. Like, I hate to say it because I don't know what's going on physically, mentally, whatever it is. It's a non-COVID illness. He's not injured. He's ill.
Yeah.
I don't want to speculate too much, but he's kind of letting the guys hang to dry here a little bit.
But would you prefer if he knows he's ill and battles through and sucks? Like,
right. Yeah, I mean, we've seen it before. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's where, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I kind of give him kudos for knowing himself and being the guy that's like, all right, I know this sucks, but I got to do what I got to do. But at the same time, you can only do that so often. And maybe he's got to make these decisions a little earlier, right? Like 4 p.m. is cutting it real close. So yeah,
people are showing up at the rink at 4 p.m.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think, like, I would say, Ross, to answer your question, you start Forsberg or Gustafsson for that Pittsburgh game because
Gus already beat Pittsburgh this year.
Yeah. So because you can't take that chance again, right? And like you said, they have a back-to-back coming up. So whatever's going on with Murray, if he needs a couple extra days, give it to him. Just, like, let him have that opportunity. In Belleville, they're fine with Sogard. Although, what's up with Mando? Is Mando hurt or out, or he was just?
I think he's around.
Okay, so then you got Sogard and Mando for Friday's game if you need them up against, I think it's the Marlies, or it could be Laval, something like that.
Shocker.
Yeah, well, yeah, I had pretty safe guesses there, but
Like,
I know
they
it's
haven't
one of
played
those two.
teams in a little while too, so they are absolutely due. I mean, the Marlies they did, but Laval, shocker, the next 2 games are against the Marlies.
Yeah, okay, so that makes sense. So yeah, it would be all right if they had to do that. I just think, yeah, you can't have another situation where you're throwing a guy in cold here. So maybe just go for Forsberg or Gus, knowing that they can get in there. I mean, why not go for Forsberg? I think he played a decent game. He still had a bunch of shots and had a couple really good saves. So give him another chance here, I'd say.
All right, cool. Yeah, Matt Murray. No idea. Not at practice today, but we do have lines for practice. We will get to those on the other side, but quickly. This is just rubbing me the wrong way, and it's rubbing the fan base the wrong way. It can't be good for business as well. On every off day, they're reassigning JBD to the taxi squad. Well, not long term when this guy should be a part of your core going forward. Yeah. So here's the situation. The taxi squad has been reintroduced. Ottawa did this last year as well. And yes, from a business perspective, you understand. It's a pandemic. You're bleeding money. There were no fans at the arena last night. That has to stay. But now imagine being a 21-year-old player. Jacob Bernard Docker played 14 minutes last night, played solid. Yep. And then the next day, he's still practicing alongside Thomas Chabot. Clearly, he's an important piece going forward to this team. But they're reassigning him to the taxi squad to save $4,000 a day off of his paycheck. Why?
Well, you mentioned it. Like, they're bleeding money. It's Eugene Melnyk. Every cent counts. And
they're paying $1.2 for Josh Brown.
Yeah, there you go. Then $2 million for Delhi to be down in Belleville. But yeah, it doesn't come as a surprise. And really, at the end of the day, it's not crazy. Like, JBD is going to be okay, missing a couple $4,000 paydays.
Right, but we didn't bring it up the first 5 times.
Yeah.
Like, just for one day off. Like, if you do it sporadically, sure, I get it. But they're doing it every single day.
Yeah.
Every day.
It is kind of crappy. That's for sure. And if you're JBD, that's something you're going to remember in the back of your brain come contract negotiations. That's for sure. But Sens going Sens, Ross. I guess that's all I can say there.
Just like Mark Mathot told a story, and it seems to still ring true because Drake Batherson got the exact same contract that Mark Mathot did. This is from the Wally and Mathot
exact
show.
Same contract?
More years, but same annual average, 4.975. Okay. And he said that the organization, like, they started at like 4.2 and Meth wanted 5.5. Anyways, they posted a clip for Wally and Mathot, but I was just flabbergasted by the fact Meth said there was something they just wouldn't put a 5 for optics or whatever reason. So they gave him 4.975 instead of $5 million. Like,
well, and you know what's funny about that, Ross, is it seems that a certain Ottawa Sun reporter, every time he talks about Drake Batherson's contract, he makes sure to say it's under $5 million. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, no, it's not weird at all. It makes a whole lot of sense, actually. Man, don't even get me started on the Ottawa Sun. But I do want to talk about our friends at betonline.ag, because even though they were the favorites last night, you can always get a good price on the Ottawa Senators at betonline.ag. They're the #1 sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network, and for good reason as well. They're our friends enough that they're giving us promo code Locked On. Locked On gets you a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. So responsibly, of course, put in a little bit of money. $50 gets you $25 welcome bonus. $100 gets you $50. You know what I'm saying. It's bingo, bango, bongo. And at the end of the day, you have to earn it at wins. So pick winners and you'll make money at betonline.ag. The key is that you're not sitting on the sidelines anymore. Just get into the action. Have some fun with our friends at betonline.ag. So sign up today for your free account. It's BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. All right, Pillsy. So the Ottawa Senators lose 3-1 to the Buffalo Sabres. Long gone is their 2-game win streak through Alberta, although they did leave shrapnel behind them. What were your thoughts quickly on the Draisaitl Jim Matheson back and forth yesterday, where he goes, "You showed frustration in your loss to Ottawa"? Nice little Sens moment there.
embarrassing reporting. Like
Hall of Fame. How many outlets are making sure to note that Jim Matheson is a Hall of Fame reporter?
Yeah, that's just absolute garbage. Like, I put zero fault, zero blame on Leon Draisaitl. If anything, he should be praised that he didn't lose his temper and just cuss the guy out. Like, that's embarrassing to present yourself like that. Like, to say, why are you being so pissy when why do you think he's so pissy? Like, he just lost a brutal game up against your Ottawa Senators. This team is in disarray. He's got to sit up there and answer your dumb questions. And yeah, for anyone siding with Jim Matheson here, I would love to see them, like, on their worst day of work, have to answer questions in front of a camera. Like, that is a hard thing to do. And it's not fair that these guys have to be smiles and have to be friendly all the time when they're getting these dumb questions.
Yeah, and the first one, they're just insightful questions. He goes, "Are you more angry or frustrated?" That was his first question, and he gave him a bit of an answer. You can tell this guy's got a reputation, and there was a clip I saw of a compilation from going back 10 years. It was Nugent Hopkins was in it. Everybody just like looking at him after he asked these questions, being like, is this guy serious?
Yeah.
So he gave him one answer, gave him two answers, short ones, sure, but whatever. It's his prerogative.
He doesn't have to answer your questions at all.
It's in the contract. They do have to talk to the media. But
you want to see Marshawn Lynch handle that?
I'm just
there you go.
So I don't get fined. That's
exactly.
Awesome. Draisaitl would have been hilarious to do that. So we put up at Sens Central. What would you trade for Leon Draisaitl? Hilarious, because we actually got some answers where it's like Stützle Sanderson plus, and it's like that's what it would take. But I was just putting that out there just for a few laughs. There's absolutely no way that it would happen, and I think for the better for both teams as well that they stay away from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before we move on past this game, Ross, we do need to give proper shout out to Brandstrom. We gave him a little bit of credit here, but this was
we were drooling over it on the postcast.
Yeah, in the postcast. Yeah, that's why I want to kind of touch on it here, because this had to be one of his best games. Like, that hit was great. He was making outlet passes, the pass to Formanton for that breakaway. He had a lot of ice time. And the real thing I want to talk about here, over 8 minutes with Thomas Chabot. Now, man, we've seen DJ say he doesn't want Brandstrom on the right side and sticking him down on that third pair. How about being on the right side on the top pair? Like, that's a big step for DJ Smith to have that faith. So I know my kind of mindset has been the Senators need to look to shop Brandstrom, not because I don't think he's good, not because I don't like him, not because I don't think he can be a NHL defenseman that contributes towards playoff runs, nothing like that, just because it didn't seem like he was ever going to fit into the organization's plan for him. But he's starting to make that look a little different here. DJ Smith is giving him praise in post press conferences. Like, there's been a real shift here. So I think that's a good thing for Brandstrom, and I'm excited to see what opportunity he gets in the future here.
Yes, certainly. He played over 20 minutes last night. The first time this season that he played over 20 minutes in a game. Last year, once Chabot got hurt at the end of the year, he played over 20 minutes almost every single game. The last 5 games of last season, he played over 20 minutes. Although those are the only 5 times all year he played over 20 games. He had 4 points, was +2, although 3 of those points came in a win against Montreal. So, hey, he does play better when he gets more opportunity. Shocker, a little confidence goes a long way with a young defenseman. So between him and JBD in the lineup, I'm really enjoying what this Senators decor is starting to build towards. And you know, they've got that diamond just waiting to be shined once he's done at the Olympics, at his college. And I'd be shocked if Jake Sanderson isn't at the World Championships this year as well later in the spring. So
Mr. Worldwide.
Mr. Worldwide. All right, should we get to today's line combinations at practice? So, of course, no Matt Murray. Shocker in goals. So we got Anton Forsberg and Philip Gustafsson back there. Up front, Norris, Tkachuk, Batherson. That line stays together, but everything else is in a blender. Stützle stays with Formanton, but now it's Zach Sanford on the right side there, which breaks up DJ Smith's favorite line, although one of his other favorites goes to it. Whereas Gambrell, Watson, now they have Nick Paul on their other wing. And then the fourth line, we're getting conflicting reports between TSN 1200 and TSN reporter Claire Hanna. But we know it's Tierney and Gaudette, and it's between Bishop or Shaw, which leaves one of the best to ever lace him up. Tyler Ennis on the outside looking in. Ennis, the lone extra up front. On the back end, Chabot, JBD, taxi squad JBD, although still practicing on the first pair. Eric Brandstrom with, did I get this? No, I mixed this up. I forgot to put Holden back in from his maintenance day. Way to go, me. Round of applause. Holden and Zub.
Ashwan Ross.
Holden and Zub, and then Brandstrom and Josh Brown as the third pair. But we know Brandy can move up and down, kind of a rover in the lineup. Dylan Hetherington back at practice as well today. He was practicing on the extra pair with Victor Mete, who I have twice on here. Way to go, me. Of course, the injured players, Connor Brown, Scott Sabrin, Nikita Zaitsev, Colin White, and Shane Pinto. Zaitsev, DJ Smith said, has just started skating, so I wouldn't expect him back for a little while. And then Matt Murray out with illness. What are your thoughts on giving Zach Sanford the next opportunity up with Stützle and Alex Formanton?
Yeah, I mean, I guess he just wants to switch things up here. I feel like this is kind of a maintenance day thing for Tyler Ennis. I don't think it's a punishment. Or actually, no, I'll take that back. It's more, we got to get these taxi squad in games somehow, right? And I think Tyler Ennis, he wouldn't be my first guy to take out of the lineup, but it's not detrimental if that's your decision. So that's all right there. But Zach Sanford has been so weird. Like, I want to cheer for this guy and like this guy, but he just doesn't do a whole lot. And I like when we did our projected lineups for next season, I had him returning here, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Like, he's there. He's there. Yeah, exactly. So I'm kind of indifferent about Zach Sanford. I mean, I guess it makes sense. Like, who else would you put up there? Maybe Gaudette, just because, he's a shooter. But
I need to talk about that guy for a second as well.
All right, floor is yours. Go ahead.
No, he's giving me Mike Hoffman vibes. He's so bad in his own zone. He has no idea where the puck is half the time. But then he's got 3 points in 4 games, Pilsy. I don't know. Yeah. I just don't know about this guy.
I know, that's the thing. And I think it's good to have him around because he's kind of a spark plug for that second power play unit, which we talked about. There's not a lot of talent there, unfortunately. So I don't mind getting him in. And also, like, for a guy that he's healthy scratch in Chicago, gets picked up on waivers, gets in a game, scores, is in the doghouse, gets in the game, give him a bit of a consistent stretch here to see what you really got. So I don't mind having him inserted into this lineup again.
Another guy who's dash in his last 4 games. Still 3 points in his last 4 games, but Tim Stützle was -3 last night, -4 against Toronto, the game we don't talk about, and then -1 in his other last 2 games here. So I don't know what to say because, like, I feel like he's playing pretty well. Like, when puck's on his stick, you can still see that there's plays developing. I thought he had a couple good breaks outs last night where he came all the way down to the goal line and brought the puck all the way up, clean zone exits, clean zone entries. But at the end of the day, I keep looking and he's -18 at the end of the day, right? In 31 games and only has 5 goals right now. Although it's so tough to really judge him negatively because you see the positive that he's going out there. I don't know what a certain Sun reporter, as we always call him on the show, says he has to improve defensively in his intermission hit. I was just like, what? Like, did you see him play last year? He has been improving defensively. He just turned 20 years old, for crying out loud. But the shots are there. He was really charged with playing a lot last night. I don't think Josh Norris played his best game last night. I know that he's done enough that one game we're not going to get on him too hard for it, but Josh Norris, certainly, I think he would tell you the same. He wasn't at his best last night either.
Yeah. And, the rest of the team kind of picked up the slack there. Like you said, the season high in shots, they had possession for a long time. It's just, and we got to give stick taps to Michael Hauser. Like, that was a good game for a guy who's only had 4 NHL games under his belt before. He played really solid.
He played in the East Coast Hockey League this year.
Yeah, but he's a good East Coast Hockey League goalie. He won goalie of the year a couple years ago. So don't take that away from him. You can't take that away from him. What I wanted to say, I forgot about this, Ross, is how are you feeling about your 65-point prediction for Tim Stützle these days?
Not great, dude.
I tried being nice and pouring some water on it, and a lot of fans gave me flack, I should say, because a lot of people were right with you. Like, at least 50 points, closer to 60. And I was trying to pour cold water on that. But it's not, the thing with Tim Stützle is how he plays now doesn't really matter. Like we're gonna see the real Tim Stützle, and we're gonna see how he affects this franchise once this team is ready. Like this team is not ready right now, and I think in 2 or 3 years, that's when we're really going to see him pop off, because he's going to be surrounded by the proper support, I think.
Oh, you don't think Zach Sanford and Alex Formenton? No offense, because Formenton's been.
Well, no, I do think Formenton is the proper guy for him. I do think that, but yeah.
We argued about this the other day, but I still think if your third line has Formenton and Connor Brown, now you're looking at a competitive team.
Definitely. But getting two guys to replace them on that second line is no easy task.
I've already got Kuzmenko and Penn on my depth chart.
He's our favorite player. We've been following him along our whole career.
Congratulations are in order for future Ottawa Senator Andrei Kuzmenko officially making the Russian Olympic team. So,
there we go.
Congratulations. No Vitaly Abramov on the team.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I thought he could have had a crack at it, but I mean, Russia, there's so many players in the KHL that are able to do this. So
you kind of look at it though, and I don't know. I don't love it. I think he could have been there if he was playing up to the standard that I think he had set for himself in junior hockey when he was just an animal with the Gatineau League.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate, but hey, at least Kuzmenko's there, right? Until he signs with someone else. How about that certain Sun writer? And I hate that we're talking about him so much, but he was saying that they're down to their short list, and this is kind of funny because I meant
Kuzmenko is his short list of NHL teams. Okay,
exactly. Yeah. And then last night again, TSN, who had this guy on, but their other intermission, Darren Dreger says Dan Milstein, his agent, says every team is still interested and hoping to get Kuzmenko. So we're getting.
You're getting the bias of both sides, right? Obviously, the Sens are going to be like, we're one of the few remaining teams, and obviously the agent is going to be like, nah, every team is in contention here. Let's get those prices up.
Yeah, 100%. I think Dan Milstein should probably be focused more on his boy Vander Kane, which is a story for another day. But let's just hope that guy stays far away from Ottawa. Although, do you think, and I've heard some stories about Milstein, do you think he could hold that over someone? Like, hey, if you sign Kane, maybe you'll get a better chance at Kuzmenko.
I don't think so, but there is we're
little
not really
politicking?
Insiders, but there is that kind of stuff does happen, I'm sure, but I don't know if it's worth it for a team to go through that. Although if you did pick up a Vander Kane, it would only be in a rental capacity. So I mean, short-term pain for long-term gain if you get Kuzmenko out of it. But I don't think that's a situation at all, and I'm not worried even for a second that the Sens would even come close to signing Kane, because that's not where he would want to be either. So that's fine. But yeah, Kuzmenko, he's going to be the left winger for this team next year.
Yeah, you love that. All right, any positivity before we go, Pilsy? If you're a Sens fan, what are you holding on to here going into a 3-game road trip on some pretty difficult spots? I mean, say what you want about Columbus, the latter of the 3 games, but you're going through Washington and Pittsburgh, reverse order, but Pittsburgh on Thursday and then Washington going into the weekend.
My kind of little positivity here would be the Sens seem to play much better up against playoff contending teams. Look at the wins they've got this year. And DJ Smith talked about this a little. They haven't played a lot of bottom feeders like Buffalo, to be honest. They really haven't.
They pulled up that stat on the TSN broadcast last night. It was 10 out of their 32 games are against non-playoff teams.
Exactly. So they haven't really had that chance. And just by numbers, statistically, it's more likely you're going to get wins up against the contenders because just simply you've played more games up against them. But let's rewind the clock and go back to that Florida game. They embarrassed the top team in the NHL. And not just a little bit. It was 8-2, wasn't it? If I remember correctly, 8-2. So this team can pull that rabbit out of their hat and they can pull tricks on these contending teams. But I just feel like that Buffalo team, and we talked about it on the postcast, it was hilarious. That was an Ottawa Senators win by the Buffalo Sabres. That's classic. You're massive underdogs. You take advantage of a couple mishaps and you end up sneaking away with a win here. So if that's the tale here, then Ottawa can certainly do that to these up and coming teams. Yeah.
So the Senators will skate tomorrow morning in Pittsburgh at 11:30. So we're going to record before that, but I'm really curious to hear and see if Matt Murray travels with the team. Is he going on the road trip? Is he staying at home, hunkered down? That's a real question going forward after 2 good games. And then what's next? So we'll get into all that and more tomorrow. Really appreciate you making Locked On Senators your first listen of the day or watch as we're on YouTube. Please mix in a like and subscribe. You can just hit that thumbs up button in the corner there. It does go a very long way. What are you thinking about the Matt Murray saga? Leave a comment. Let us know that. And please subscribe on where your favorite audio platform, as well as it does help us out. So thank you very much for listening. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.